Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Howdy, 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 and welcome to the iRacing Formula 3.5 Championship here at Sebring. I am Austin. I'm joined by Tim Cox, and you're here live watching Apex Racing TV.
Well, Austin, after a truly amazing race last time out, this week we head across the Atlantic to Sebring, and it's going to be interesting. So bumpy for these single-seaters, especially the final corner, the notorious Sunset Bend. I'm really looking forward to this one. It's going to be a really different challenge, and those curbs, they're lethal, especially in these Formula Renault 3.5s. Some really treacherous moments out on circuit that I'm sure is going to definitely make it a little bit spicy and one to enjoy for the viewers at home.
It really is, and spicy is the name of the game here. Things can get absolutely smoking hot. You mentioned it, these curbs are very lethal. These bumps can really upset the car. And this track has been a major challenge to a lot of the drivers. It's constantly providing some of the some crazy races and crazy moments. As there's a mistake right there. Dennis Cornu in his qualifying lap goes off the track, heading into the Hotel Bend. He was fighting the bumps heading into there, and that's exactly what can happen around here. And in the race, this, I believe Sebring has turned into that cult classic of the Formula 3.5 track, that it's always on there, and it's constantly the most challenging track on the calendar.
Yeah, it's weird how these tracks sort of evolve and become driver favorites, and like you say, that develop that cult status. Sebring being one of them for the Formula Renault 3.5. Of course, you know, you think it's the Radicals, the Nordschleife, they always run that, although they're not this season, oddly. For the last week of the season. This different cars and series that develop little cult followings of different series and
Traditions.
Yes. Yeah, that traditions is a much better way of putting it rather than cult followings. It sounds a little less.
Yeah. Traditions, Formula 3.5 traditions, they have a Sebring round. They finish every season at Interlagos, as everything should do. F1, looking at you. Man. Though, with Vegas now coming, I will happily change that to Vegas.
It depends what the circuit's like. If it's going to be a barnstormer, then
slightly biased. I must say.
I know. Yeah,
I am American. Then again, I would
would
prefer USGP. But
I would say it should finish at Silverstone as our bias, but then it'll be absolutely freezing cold, pouring it down with rain, or even possibly snowing. And well, the only time we've ever really experienced snow in a motor race at top level that I can think of was two or 3 years ago now at Spa in the World Endurance Championship, where it started snowing there, and that was definitely an interesting sight behold. Very picturesque, as Spa always is. The addition of snow mid-race made it even more so. But
well, luckily for us weatherheads that don't like looking up into the sky, snow is not on iRacing.
No, and
neither is rain.
Yet. Insert caveat.
Yet.
Talking of weather, though, Austin. Nice cool track for the drivers today. Only 28 degrees Celsius. I say only. I know that during the practice sessions and the lead up to the Sebring 12 hours on iRacing, drivers were experiencing track temperatures of 38 degrees. So, in comparison to that, a much cooler affair. But I tell you what, Samborski making full use of it and that local knowledge with a cracking, absolutely blinding lap of a 1:42.75. However, James Pinsker, his massive rival, and those two usual protagonists, is yet to set a time. So that's going to be an interesting one. And actually, from looking at it, Austin, I think he's had an off track on his first lap as well.
Yes,
he did. All or nothing on the second lap.
Yes, James Pinsker having a rough qualifying session, kind of the same thing. He had a rough qualifying session last week, and he started down the field in Imola, and it was a very uphill battle for James, and he was definitely not happy with his performance last week, and it was kind of one of the worst performances I've seen from James Pinsker. He's usually always up there, but in qualifying, just couldn't get a lap together. The solid lap together, so this is going to be the lap for James Pinsker coming around Sunset Bend. He went purple in Sector 1. He improved in Sector 4, coming across the line in the final sector. James Pinsker, it's pole position!
Wow.
By 1/100th of a second. Come on, let's get that gap to Samborski up there. You have to see this to believe it. 1/100th of a second. James Pinsker ahead of Eddie Samborski. Josh Stewart comes across the line, improves to 6th place. What a lap that we just witnessed.
Wow. I'm partially speechless there. I mean, as well, it was showing from the graphics on screen. He had yellow sectors in about 3 out of the 5 sectors.
That's because his time wasn't counted originally, so it just didn't count. Well, here are your starting grid. By 7 thousandths of a second, James Pinsker takes pole position ahead of Edward Samborski, Javier Vimonti, and Miguel Crespo. Behind them, Yuki Shirakawa, Josh Stewart, Carlos DeChiro, Jason Sieg, Ludwig Rancon, Dennis Cornu, Eric Weiser-Meisky, and Dylan Freckleton in 12th place. Behind him, it's Luis Magaron, James Byrne, Jamie Byrne, Philip Hillard, Mark Pondick, Cal Young, Morgan Keene, Yaya Ennis Enkin, Theodore Burns, Daniel Gallus, and Julian Kleins-Busnick at the end of our 23 car grid as the drivers are lining up and getting ready to rock and roll here at Sebring. And Sebring, it's got a pretty long straightaway leading into turn 1. Turn 1's really fast, and it's going to be a lot of action to go to. And I don't know about you because you're physically beside me, but I'm bouncing with excitement right now.
Oh, same here. I mean, we've got some interesting results. Theodore Burns not having the best of qualifying by his own standards, so one to watch out for coming through the pack. He's starting down in 21st place, but just waiting for the last driver, Pinsker, to take to the grid. And we are off racing for what's going to be an absolutely enthralling race once again here in this series. I can feel Austin. I can feel the hair starting to stand up on end on my arm. I'm so excited for this one.
Well, it's time for those hands and everybody to get up on their feet because the 5 red lights are on as we are green, green, green here at Sebring for the iRacing Formula 3.5 Championship. James A. Piece and Andy Samborski get off to a good start. Samborski diving down to the inside, Piece defending onto the outside, heading into turn 1 right there. As that's Javier Bramante, Yuki Shirakawa, Michael Crespel going side by side, defending onto the inside. We got cars spinning around in the background. Chaos happening right there as side by side heading into turn 2. Does the mid-pack go as it's Pisker, Samborski, Bramante, Shirakawa, Raikkonen, and Crespo. Your top 5 right there, top 6. As a few cars just dealing with that outside line. This is Jason Sieg on the prowl on Dylan Freckleton. Freckleton getting a little bit held up right there as they head into the Hotel Hairpin. You can see such a tight line for these Formula 3.5 cars that they just had to just find their way through there right there. And almost a crazy moment for James R. Byrne. Got onto the grass through that little kink in the Hotel Hairpin and had to catch the back end, almost going out on him.
Caught up in that opening lap action, you had Dresho, Aiken, Klaus Busnik, and Keen all caught up in that. Dreco, the big loser out of it all, lost 14 places, down to 21st, Austin, already.
Yeah, DeChero not going to be happy about that. Down 13 spots. Biggest movers so far this race is Mark Ponick. Yuki Shirakawa is up in 4th. Ludwig Radgon is up into 5th. That's a 4-spot improvement right there. Multiple 4-spot improvements. Theodore Burns, you were talking about him. Mark Ponick, Dylan Freckleton, Dennis Cornu, and Ludwig Rancon are the biggest movers and benefactors of that opening lap chaos. They were really going for it. As the first lap is in the books right here. Is this James A. Pinsker, Eddie Samborski, Bamonte, Shirakawa, and Ludwig Rancon are top 5. You can see they're all just flinging it through Sunset Bend, heading down to turn 1. Not side by side this time, so this is where that racecraft for these drivers are really going to come into handy. That's a slow line for Jason Sieg ahead of James Byrne. James, he had a great run through turn 1 as he's all over the gearbox right now.
Interesting one for you, Austin. I was just watching Pensley getting off the line, and I think potentially he might have used one of his DRSs there.
He did?
Yeah, it's an interesting tactic.
Oh, look at Byrne.
Oh, wow.
Look at Byrne.
Contact!
Oh, no! Byrne set up a move. James Byrne set a move around the outside on Jason Sieg right there. And I guess Jason just wasn't expecting him to hold it around the corner right there. Tried to cover him up, but unfortunately there's a little bit of grass right there. And as Fernando always says, you always have to leave the space. And there certainly wasn't any space left to give right there. And those two got hooked off right there as they fall down to 18th and 20th, respectively.
Big casualties early on, and what's been going on? Austin Theodore Burns, as mentioned about him earlier, he's now 8 places into 13th. He's had an absolutely cracking couple of opening laps. As see Miguel Crespo here, trying to take on to the back of Ranchon. A bit further down the field, Josh Stewart having a right good old battle here with Philip Hillard. Just sliding it through. I mean, you see just how bumpy and treacherous Sunset Bend is in these cars, and well, I mean, left by look, the amount of downforce that they've got does aid them as they come through there. Oh, there's a spinner in the background, as I say about that.
Cal Young. That was Cal Young who spun around.
A bit early there, maybe, for a bit too much.
The bumps, they will catch you out if you aren't focusing on them. They get progressively worse the wider you go.
They do. It's frightening how up close and personal they have to get to that wall on the inside. As wow.
This is Burns looking in on the inside as well. He's got the nose in there. Let the space by Lewis. Let the space off the exit. And, well, Theodore Burns really knows how to throw a car around. Sends it down to the inside, heading into Andretti. And beautiful. Absolute move right there by Theodore Burns. Ludwig Rancon and Yuki Shirakawa are in a fight for 4th as Shirakawa's falling down the field. As there goes Miguel Crespo. Shirakawa might have gone off the track, as Yaya Ankin is off the track as well.
So anyway, it's all happening, you know. Those who might have thought coming here might be a little bit processional. Well, if you've been proved wrong, and
Here comes Yuki.
this is going to be the move done here, Austin. There you go.
Well, down the inside, you can see the differences of bouncing. They both go wide. The car's porpoising up and down right there. I can actually use that word now. As they're drag racing at the lead of the race. Eddie Samborski goes down to the inside and into the lead here at Sebring. I almost said Suzuka.
I'd say doing so as well, Austin picked up fastest lap so far. He was amazingly, some half a second quicker on the last lap compared to Pinsker. I mean, the draft will have played a large part in that story. As Freckles are just getting a little bit out onto the grass there, and Crespo now looking to mount an attack here down into the hairpin turn. Well, he's got his work cut out if he wants to do it around the outside. Well, having said that, we have been disproved before, but he needs to be careful having one eye on what's happening behind them, because Wajimowski and Podik took some right behind him. And tell you what, the Canadians, he's had a cracking start as well. He's up 7 places.
Yeah, those drivers can really get onto your tail if you aren't careful. You can see there's a train formed behind Dylan Fruckington right there. As a lot of smoke from Yuki Shirakawa. That turn is really giving him a lot of trouble.
It's quite a tricky corner, obviously. He's slowed the car down probably a bit more than what you realise. And of course, with Sebring being, based on a old airport, say airport old Air Force base, it's incredibly flat. So a little bit spectacle of the time, and a bit hard to tell where the track goes, especially if you're newer to driving this track, and a bit of a tricky one to learn. But once you get into the groove of it, it is a blinding track. Those bumps, as we mentioned, playing havoc with the ability to understand and know how the car's going to react underneath you. There's a few different lines available through Sunset. However, it's how much you dare risk out onto the bumps, as just under a bit of pressure there. Likewise, in the background, we saw Stuart and Morgan just under attacking.
Oh, that's
one
a
another.
miss braking. That was Yuki Shirakawa looking down the inside and missing the braking point, being glad that Dennis Cornelius was not side by side, or else that would have been contact right there. When I drove here in real life back in the USF series, I remember going through Sunset Bend, and at some times I'd be hitting a bump so hard I wouldn't be able to look at the road because I'm looking at the sky and then at the ground. That's how aggressive these bumps are. If we could get an onboard shot through Sunset Bend, you can see on how badly that these cars shake through that quarter.
It is incredibly. I mean, you see with the Sebring 12-hour hit, here recently, and just able
those
to
are
see
sports cars. Those are sports cars. They're much easier to go over bumps.
I'm
talking about cars that are single seaters. It's
you
just absolutely chaos.
You see, even with those, watching those in real life, especially in the darkness where you've got the lights to see the the jitteriness. I mean, those were really bouncing around. Like you were saying, in comparison, Formula cars, it's just amplified even more so. And wow, it's just how much you dare play tricks with it, really. So there's Jamie Byrne making some. Well, no, sorry, it's Theodore Burns. Too many Burns here. It's Theodore Burns now up 10 places, Austin. That's 11th for him. Gets past Jamie Byrne.
Yeah, great run by Theodore Burns. Not the best qualifying by him, but a great race performance so far by Burns as he's get past Byrne and now chases down Ponick.
Ponix, he's having a cracking race as well, as I mentioned earlier. That was 7 places into 10th, but
no longer the biggest mover. Theodore Burns overtook that one with 10 overtakes.
Crazy, isn't it? And these two, off in a little world of their own, little bubble.
As they usually are.
Yeah.
As these two usually are, they pulled away from everybody else. And this intense rivalry between these two drivers is still going strong. Eddie Samborski and James J. Pinsker nose to tail with each other, 5 seconds clear of the next car as everybody's tuning in for this fight as they fly through Le Mans. The other cars in this race are not even within the camera shot. They are so far ahead. Yet there's the next one. Bamonte just came across Le Mans right there as they race down that long back straightaway as they wing it into Sunset Bend.
And so just seeing it and porpoising through there is absolutely crazy. As well, here comes Theodore Burns trying to make it a bit of a look there, but in just behind them, Stewart.
That was a little spicy on a block onto the braking zone. I'm usually not a fan of people moving into the braking zone. Like, if they're car ahead, but they set up down to the inside, then they move right into the braking zone, kind of just takes away the door. But they could also catch the guy behind you by surprise. And, you know, if they aren't expecting to slow down right there, you two might be tangled up and, well, throwing helmets at each other.
Of course, the advantage that these guys do have is that, you know, they do race together so often. You know, they know each other incredibly well. Week in, week out, they're facing off against one another. So there is that element of trust and understanding and knowledge of, you know, how a driver is going to react. And yes, you know, mistakes and accidents do occasionally happen. However, as a whole, you know, there's a good camaraderie between all the drivers and a good understanding between them. So there's no malice there whatsoever. However, like you say, if you're someone, oh, that was just Shirakawa.
Yeah, Yuki Shirakawa off right there and still off the track, falls down to 7th. And Shirakawa, this has not been a good day for him. Dylan Freckleton jumps up into 6th place.
Could even lose another place down Allman Straight potentially.
He's under pressure by Crespo.
He sucks up right behind him.
Yeah, Crespo is locked in right there. Shirakawa going really slow. Lost a lot of pace, went wide off the track, caught the grass, and there goes Crespo diving down to the inside, getting ahead of Shirakawa. Side by side they go. Miguel Crespo, Shirakawa on the outside. Crespo backs off on the corner. One of the 5 Downforce Racing cars. Remember the Downforce Racing team, a 1, 2, 3, and 4 last round.
It was a really dominant display from, wasn't it? And I mean, yes, he did a bit by, you know, Pinsker's poor qualifying, didn't even set a time, and then obviously didn't last. I think lap 7 from memory had that big altercation down at Aqua Minerale, wasn't it?
Yeah, Aqua Minerale, him and I believe Shirakawa had that incident where Shirakawa got onto the brakes a lot earlier than James A. Pinsker was used to, and James and Shirakawa got into each other, and that brought both their races to an end. Don't see that happening here between these two, so they can let the ice
worry about them.
they can let the temperatures between them fall down a little bit, but I know a lot that James and Yuki Shirakawa unfortunately have had their run-ins in the past.
A little bit of a look up and down the field. Well, funnily enough, just cut to. I was going to mention about how he's progressing on Theodore Burns, as mentioned earlier. Yeah, I've mentioned it a few times to be fair. Oh well, he's progressing right up onto the tail end of this train in front of him, and clearly a man on the move. Expect to see him throw some shapes.
I gotta say, best livery on the grid. Slightly biased. I love the burnt orange accents. As Weiser tries to hold it around the outside of Theodore Burns, but Burns goes down to the inside. Theodore Burns up into 9th.
12 places gained. I mean, well,
he's gonna go try to do a last top 5 at this pace.
I think he's. I mean, how many laps have we? You know, we're just not far off half race distance. As Weiser just runs it in a bit deep there and nearly into the back of Burns, but just had to drift out a bit wide, and that's now put Bonick right on to the tail end of him, and that's actually going to give Burns a little bit of breathing space on the run. Down to hairpin turn.
Here comes Ponick. Ponick down to the inside, locked up the wheels just a little bit. Weisenmeister holds it around to the outside. Eric holds it right there. And here comes Stewart. Josh Stewart can try to make the move off the exit of that corner. Stewart's got the inside line, but here comes Ponick, who has the inside line right there. Is he going to keep the brakes under control? Yes, he does. Holding around the outside. Joshua Stewart sneaking by with that pass.
Wow. What a move around the outside. I think someone needs to tell Josh Stewart, you're not allowed to do it around there, around the outside. And yeah, it's one of those moments of, hold my beer, watch this. And wow, talking about hold my beer, watch this. These two are at it once again.
Yeah, James Pinsker retakes the lead of the race. As you can see, Pinsker going all the way down to the far right side of the track. Samborski just staying right behind him. Nose to tail between these two drivers. Nothing separated them as the fight for 10th place between Josh Stewart is going absolutely nutty right there. Eric got ahead of Stewart as Stewart got back ahead of Eric, and Eric under pressure by Mark Ponick. Ponick looking down the inside, not going to be right there. It looks like Eric might have had the run on Josh Stewart through Sunset Bend, but didn't get the exit right. Might have had a little bit of trouble on the entry. That's a big bump by Eric, took through that little section of corners. Look at Ponick. Ponick going deep. Ponick is setting a move up right here. Here comes Mark Ponick. Ponick's just enabled DRS at this point. You don't usually see DRS being enabled right here. Ponick, oh, Eric knew something was up right there. Ponick going to try to hold around the outside like Josh Stewart did, but it's going to be no money for him right there. But Ponick really is challenging right there, just right in that gearbox. Looking down to the inside right now, heading into Andretti. Eric defending that one, shutting that door closed. And Ponick holds it around to the outside, goes late onto the brakes, still around the outside, and just like Stewart did to him, Mark Ponick round the outside of Eric Weisenmeister.
Wow, what a battle between those two, and has allowed Stewart just to gallop off the field and up the road, sorry, and back them into the group behind them. But this doesn't stop these guys up ahead of them battling away. As you can see him heading down the
Theodore Burns straight once again, looking down to the inside, looking for 7th place, and he's got it on entry. Can he hold it through the corner and just keep that together? Yes, he does. Freckleton and Crespo are right behind him. Crespo, a teammate of Theodore Burns, going to try to join his teammate as Theodore Burns defending down to the inside right now, heading into turn 1. There's Crespo looking down there as well. Not going to go for that move. Theodore Burns up 14 spots into 7th place. What a job so far from the Downforce Racing driver.
Next challenge, Austin, 3 seconds up the road is Shirakawa. The momentum, I mean, we're just going literally about half race distance now, and your money, if you're a betting man, it's surely got to be on Theodore Burns to close that gap and get past Shirakawa and head up into 6th place. I mean, having said that, I mean, Dennis Cornu, the Frenchman, in 5th place at the moment, is actually attainable. Likewise, Ranchon, the other Frenchman, currently in 4th place. Again, fully attainable to take that place. And, well, you've surely got to have good odds on Burns. To sneak climb up a few more places. You mentioned already have 14 places, but potentially could go up another 3 or 4 more.
Yeah, the potential to get up and sneak a few spots is definitely there for a few of these drivers. Anything can happen at the front of this race and ahead of them. The drivers ahead of them really separated, so they're going to be really looking in on single car mistakes, as we saw Yuki Shirakawa struggling with a little sections of the track on the back side of the track coming after the hotel hairpin. Those next 3 corners are really struggling for Yuki Shirakawa throughout the day, as that's what Theodore Burns is trying to do to get into 6th place right now. So we look at our fight for 9th place. Stewart looking down to the inside of Miguel Crespo. Teammates on each other There is no teammate on teammate rules for, hey, let him by right here. They're going to find it out. And it's great to see Josh Stewart. Oh, Crespo spins it.
Oh, he's in the wall, Austin.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Crespo. Crespo getting the car parked, hopefully not beaching it right there. There is a car oncoming right there, and that might have been a little bit of an issue for that car, but it doesn't seem like they would have made contact. I don't think Crespo hit the wall.
No, I'm now not so sure whether he did or not. I don't say. I'm more inclined to say that he didn't. It's a little bit tricky. It was just out of camera. We're seeing panic here.
Oh, is Eric going to try to hold him around the outside?
Oh, no.
Oh, Eric's around. Eric is around.
No, he's not fully. He managed to save it, Austin, but it was a big lock-up and a big twitch of the front end, oddly, as he locked up and lost 2 places there in the preceding. He lost to Byrne and Rogan. Those 2 up into 11th and 12th, respectively, right now.
When I see a car going sideways, I immediately think there's no way that they can catch that, but I keep forgetting that these guys know how to drive these cars to their absolute limit, and they know how to save it. New fastest lap of the race, a 1:43.8 by James A. Pinsker ahead of Eddie Samborski as those 2 continue their race. It's just separated by 7/10 between them.
Would you like a fact about Sebring, Austin?
Oh, I would love a fact. I love facts.
Well, being American, I'm sure you probably know this one already, but Sebring is now one of the oldest continuously operated circuits in the whole of the USA.
That I did know.
Tune in this time next week for another fun fact about the circuit we're at.
Do you know the oldest operating circuit in the USA?
Ooh, that's a good question. Is it Watkins Glen?
No.
Back to me. Let me think
Indianapolis.
About that.
It's Indy.
Hashtag spoiler alert.
If a series has over 100 races there, yeah, it's Indy.
Yes. That is very true. That is very true. I tell you what, Weissbarski is really looking on the attacking mode now after at least there's a couple of places and starting to almost trip up a little bit by Lewis Morgan just ahead of him. And just worries me a little bit of whether he, obviously where he locks up and a couple of laps ago into the hairpin. That's just how much heat he generated from that, and just whether he just needs to back out a little bit over the next few laps, just allow the tyre temperature just to come back to him a little bit more. As Samborski, new fastest lap of the race there with
a little bit of answering. Just answering James right there as James Byrne goes down to the inside and up into 14th, recovering from that earlier incident for James as we go to our fight for the lead, which is honestly in a completely different county at this point from everybody else.
Austin, fastest laps of all the drivers. There are only 2 drivers in the 1:43s. Ironically, with literally 200 seconds separating them, it's these 2, Pinsker and Samborski. From there backwards, we've got about 4 drivers in the 1:44s. They're about the mid to high range, so that is the pace that these 2 are setting, nearly a second quicker than the next batch of closest drivers.
That's nuts.
The rest of the field, Austin, low 1:45. So these guys are around about 1.31 to 1.5 seconds per lap quicker than the bulk of the field. Now, to put it in context, these guys have, our lowest iRacing driver, not that it's anything to be, shameful of based on these numbers, is
Yaya.
Yes, it is. It's,
yeah,
no,
3,000, it is the lowest number, 23. There are 23 cars, so 23 is the lowest. That would be Yaya Ankin at, just the smallest I rating here is 3,255. It's taken me 3 years to break the 2K I rating barrier, so that just shows you how good these guys are.
Yeah. And the fact that you know, you've got that caliber of driver being this sort of margin by these top two. I know Alien is banded around and it's very casually put on and maybe overused in this day and age a little bit.
It's not overused here. These two are aliens. Absolutely, and I'm pretty sure Sam Borski and James A. Pacer might be on the government's list of extraterrestrials. To be fair, I don't think any men in black have approached them yet.
Although, ironically, Sam Borski does have a black livery. It's that one he will.
He's gonna hit you for that one.
Ooh,
a little bit of a junction happening right there. Eric getting held up. It's the Burns around, well, Eric in a burning situation. He's got Jamie ahead of him, James behind him, and he's stuck right there in the middle with him. Hopefully he's got a luckily he's got a fire suit on, or else he's going to be dealing with second-degree burns. As Josh Stewart is off the track ahead of him.
Looks like Stewart's held onto it. It just clips onto the grass and right now,
I'd say that would be off about right here. There are some fresh tire marks at Le Mans as Eric struggling. He's got the burn behind him, and Shirakawa goes down to the inside of Dennis Cornu and up to 5th place.
I'd say Austin Shirakawa's really sort of just got back into his groove over the last few laps, because
at the start of this race he was really going backwards.
He was, and he's, you know, composed himself, got back into, you know, the right headspace, and really been making progress, because originally, you know, he was, they said, dropping through. Dennis Cornu was actually getting away from him at one stage. He's now caught him, gone past him, and I'll tell you what, Theodore Burns, after his initial really strong progress, that's started to stagnate a little bit. Stuck in 7th at the moment, about 3.2 seconds behind these two.
Yeah, a few seconds behind them as they carry on. And with that pass by Shirakawa on Dennis Cornu, that's going to be great for Theodore Burns, as, you know, these two are going to be battling, and Burns is going to have more time to gain on him. Now, well, less time to gain on him, because that gap's about 3.5 seconds behind Dennis Cornu to Theodore Burns. It's actually about 3 seconds now. Really closing it.
I do wonder, though, Austin, whether he could well be running out of time. We've got 5 laps remaining here at Sebring, and I think it could well
that's
be.
Shirakawa in the grass. And also the temperature right now has increased. Its track temp was at 28 degrees at the start of the race.
Decreased to 27.
Oh, it's decreased.
Yes, we're down 1 degree to 27. I mean, we are local time here in
sunset.
Sebring.
Okay, it's sunset.
Yes. But, well, literally, we're in Sunset Bend. It is sunset happening. Just coming to 6:30 local time here at Sebring. So it's definitely
look at that time by Burns, new personal best, and compared to these two ahead of Theodore Burns, 1 second faster than these two.
Wow.
Burns can seriously go from a last to 5th opportunity right now.
I think that's an incredible recovery.
Yeah, you just see him in the background closing in. 2.2 seconds separating him and Yuki Shirakawa.
He's going to be absolutely praying that these two start battling again.
Oh, he doesn't have to pray that long. Shirakawa overcooks it and goes wide, and off goes Cornu. He does the same.
It's all happening. It's all coming
Red
towards middle.
carpet.
Oh.
Red carpet this way, Mr. Burns. This way. Steamed hams are this way. I had to do that.
I mean, I'm speechless. And now Theodore Burns has got. Oh no, it's in the background.
Dylan Freckleton's around. Freckleton's got to watch this re-entry.
Oh, wow. Oh, it's all happening. Out of Le Mans.
Daniel Gallus. Oh my gosh, she's lucky. That didn't turn into nastiness right there. But in one lap, Shirakawa, Gallus, Freckleton, and Cornu, all major incidents right there. And they've all worked great for Theodore Burns. Last lap, he gained 2.2 seconds on Shirakawa. He is knocked out the door. Eddie Samborski's off the track.
Well, he's had a big off, Austin, and that gap is still climbing massively.
Yeah, what has happened to Eddie Samborski? We might not know this. I know our timing tower has been having a little bit of a trouble, so the replays will not come for us right there. But Eddie Samborski having an off-the-track moment, and he falls away from the fight for the lead, 7 seconds away from James J. Pinsker.
Austin, I'm going to go back and have a little bit of a look and see if I can find out exactly what happened to him. So, he just lost it all by himself, Austin.
Yeah.
So as they were coming out of, bear with me one moment, I'm trying to think which turn that is. That is.
This is back a lap. So this is what happened to Eddie Samborski heading into the hotel hairpin. We've seen mistakes happen through here throughout the race, and yep, I believe this is going to be Andretti. Is this going to be another what happened to Yuki Shirakawa? Just going to be losing the back end? Sources point to yes around here, and yes.
Snaps on him, Austin.
No, there it goes. There it goes right there, and he's tapped the wall too. Oh no, Eddie. Oh no. And well, back to our fight for 5th place, Shirakawa and Theodore Burns. Shout out to Greg in the chat. Thank you, Greg.
Greg, I completely agree with you.
Burns goes down the inside. Oh, Burns goes like, how did they not make contact with each other? Burns was looking down to the inside. Shirakawa was a little bit earlier on the brakes. Somehow they didn't make contact as Dylan Freckleton has had an off-the-track incident. We're not going to go look at that as Theodore Burns and Shirakawa still in this battle through Andretti corner. Shirakawa lost the car. Samborski lost the car around here. This is where Theodore Burns saw that 3-second gap go down to, well, right in front of him gap. Time between them, well, it's honestly just physical at this point, and timing towers have no need at this point, as Burns almost, he could have locked down to the inside heading into Le Mans. As Eric has had an incident, he's fallen down multiple spots.
He's had a big incident in some ways, come off the track, Austin, but...
New fastest lap for Samborski, 1:43.3. Though he is still 7 seconds behind of James A. Pinsker, so that is just frustration built up right there. 2 laps to go here at Sebring. You can see the back ends of these cars bobbing, weaving, bumping up and down, trying to find the grip, recover from the bumps right here. As here comes Theodore. Theodore looking down low, not going to go for the move right there as they go through turn 1.
Of course, Austin, the drivers get 8 opportunities to use their DRS per race. Something we don't know is how many times Burns has utilised them. Likewise, how many times Shirakawa used it as well. Because if they've got some left, expect them to use that on the last lap to either defend or launch an attack. I mean, if they both end up using it...
Oh, once again! The mistiming of the braking zones between these two drivers. Shirakawa brakes a lot earlier than Theodore Burns, and I believe that's catching Theodore out. And Theodore, if I was Theodore at that point, after what I saw last lap with Yule's rear-ending them, I would have always stayed off the racing line, always forced looking down the inside with Theodore Burns. He's got Shirakawa in his sights. He's just got to know when to launch his attack on Yuki. as they are nose to tail right now. Let's right on board of Theodore Burns as we fly through the double left-handers heading into Le Mans as the white flag is in the air for James J. Pinsker.
I mean, we're not even at the bumpiest part of the season. Just how bumpy it is as
here comes
this next corner.
Here comes Theodore. Theodore putting on the attack, looking down to the inside. Side by side they go, heading into Sunset Bend with 2 times remaining around here. This one and then the last one. Theodore Burns takes 5th place after starting 21st. And they take the white flag up 16 spots for Theodore Burns, but here comes Shirakawa looking to hold it around the outside right there. Shirakawa goes really deep. He somehow keeps it out of the grass right there as Josh Stewart is battling it all around. Goes Mark Ponick, Josh Stewart, and Ponick get into each other as they both end off, turn around. Stewart's back on the track, but that car is really damaged. That's allowed Byrne and Magaran up into 7th and 8th right there on the final lap of this race. Chaos strikes right there. Burns ahead of Shirakawa. Shirakawa not sending one into the hotel hairpin. Burns able to stay ahead as James J. Pinsker pulling away from everybody else. Eddie Samborski in 2nd place. Well, he's putting in fastest laps once again, a 143.3. 144 last time for Eddie, so he's going to just be happy about those laps, but oh, he must be kicking himself off that mistake. It's a battle for 5th. It's really heated up right here. Shirakawa trying to keep with the pace of Theodore Burns, who is closing in on an average of 1 second per lap, as it's nobody catching the number 3. James J. Pinsker takes the win here at Sebring. And following behind them is going to be Eddie Samborski and Javier Bamonte. There is Eddie. Oh, well, it was the highest of highs last week, and it's going to be a bittersweet 2nd place. And Eddie's not a fan of losing, so he's going to be really kicking himself on that situation right there. There is Javier Bamonte taking 5th. Suzuki Shirakawa takes a very wide line. Theodore Burns up 16 spots, 21st to 5th. What a race by Theodore right there. Absolutely amazing. And the father-son duo, Jamie and James Byrne, they takes 8th and 9th. Great finish by both of them.
I'll tell you, Daniel Gartless, haven't mentioned him hardly at all this race, Austin. Comes home in 10th place, up 12 places. He's just been quietly, keeping himself clean, quietly going about his business, and that's an absolutely brilliant result for him.
Yeah, it was a great result by Daniel Gallis. Really benefited from that incident with Josh Stewart. Stewart able to limp that car back home for a 13th place. As we take a look at our race winner, James J. Pinsker, with an absolutely deserving win right there. Started up on pole, but it certainly wasn't as simple as that. It was a hard-fought battle with Eddie Samborski, and he had the car control right there to keep it all alive. And James A. Pinsker able to make it a W here at Sebring, and Eddie's going to be kicking himself after that one.
Maybe a missed opportunity. I mean, at least, came away with 2nd. I think realistically, these two, I think the worst that they'll aim for will be a 2nd place. So at least something achieved. I mean, having said that, missed opportunity potentially for Samborski to claim another victory this season and make it 2 wins on the bounce.
Yeah, as we're still waiting for our results. There we go, right on time. Here are the full results. James A. Pinsker, it takes the win here at Sebring, followed by Eddie Samborski. It looks much simpler when you look at it than actually how it went down. Javier Bamonte, Ludwig Grandcon, Theodore Burns, Yuki Shirakawa, Louis Magaron, Jamie Byrne, and James Byrne, Daniel Gallis, Jason Sieg, Philip Hillard, Josh Stewart, Miguel Crespo, Mark Ponick, Yaya Ennis Ankin, Dylan Frogington, Eric Weisenmeiski, Cal Young, and Morgan Keene in 20th. Behind him is Dennis Cornu, Carlos Teixeira, and Julian Kleins-Busnik at the end of a 23-car grid. What a fantastic race, Tim.
Wow. Wow, so many stories to tell from this, so much drama. I mean, for those who think, single seaters can be processional, maybe a bit boring, I think it just reinforces that they really, really aren't.
Yeah, it really is impressive. And honestly, one driver was impressing. He didn't have the best qualifying, but I want to bring him in here really quick. Up 16 spots. I was saying 20 from last to fifth because outside the 20th spot pretty much is last. But Theodore Burns, how was that race for you?
Oh, it was it was intense. It was a struggle trying to get past everyone and not lose too much time. I knew I had a fast car and I just pushed it that little bit too hard in qualifying, so I couldn't be up there with Ed and James this week. But yeah, I gave it my all and was able to salvage the top 5, which is awesome.
Yeah, it was an absolute walking highlight reel of your moves out there today. You got a little bit lucky at the end of the race with Shirakawa and Crespo, I believe, having those incidents ahead of you with about 4 laps to go. What was going through your head when you were chasing them down?
I knew I had a little bit of a pace advantage, but I know here at Sebring it's just such a tough race, and the last couple laps you can really overcook the tires that little bit too much. So I knew it'd be a race of attrition. So I was trying to push as hard as I could to catch up to the guys, but stay just under that limit where I knew I'd be safe. And I think they just went a little bit over that limit, and so it kept playing in the back of my head. Don't wreck yourself out. Just keep driving, and you'll be able to get up there to them. And it just the cards fell into place, and I was able to get up there and have a shot at the top 5 going into the final lap. Hopefully, we had a couple more laps. Maybe could have gotten 1 or 2 more spots out of it because DFR guys, we made a fast setup this week, but that was the best I could do, especially from such a bad spot.
It was a great race for you today. Before we let you go to get ready for next week at Hockenheim, anybody you want to thank?
I'd love to thank Downforce Racing. Put a lot of work in this week on the setup, making it one fast car. We had a rocket ship out there today. And thanks to you guys at Apex, putting on a great broadcast, and everyone that comes out and makes this such a fun series to race.
Well, thank you for giving us a great show out there. Hopefully your qualifying goes better, and we'll see you fighting for the podium spots again.
Thanks. See you guys later.
Thank you, Theodore Burns. Over to you, Tim.
Yeah, let's have a bit of a chat with our race victor here today. James Pinsker joins us now. James, wow, yet again, another tough battle between yourself and Eddie Samborski at the front of the field.
Yep, for sure, and I'm really happy to win this one. Let's go. I mean, he was quicker than me today. I'll put my hands up. He was a bit quicker than me today, but I didn't make any mistakes, and he made a couple. And that's what made the difference. So GG.
It's well, I mean, we saw you two exchanging places a couple of times. I mean, once when you were behind, were you a bit concerned that Eddie had got ahead? Obviously, based on what you've just said, where you felt that he was quicker today than yourself.
Well, I guess I don't know. It was kind of back and forth, I suppose. There was a couple of times where I was ahead and trying to break the slipstream. I think this track is with the way the slipstream works. I think it's very easy to follow, but not that easy to pass, if that makes sense. Because there's a lot of like medium length straights where slipstream gains a tenth maybe, and that's really useful. But then overtaking, unless you're like me, for sure my setup had a lot more straight line speed than Ed's. Sort of overtaking for me wasn't that difficult, but if Ed didn't make the mistake, for sure he had a bit more raw speed, particularly in the end of the race. It would have been really intense and really tricky to see him if he could have overtaken me, because his straight line speed was definitely worse than mine. But some of the corners in the middle of the track, it's like he was just pulling like a tenth every time, and I didn't know where it was. And I'll be honest, I've got a couple of excuses. I didn't practice like Imola. I just couldn't be bothered, or I was quite busy this week, so I only did maybe an hour of practice. But yeah, I didn't feel like I was driving too below my limit. I was pushing, and this track is obviously in this car. It's very tricky with all the bumps everywhere. It's very easy to just blow up on one of those. So pretty stoked just to finish the race, honestly. And first place, is feeling good.
Well, I mean, you say about the bumps, much more smoother track surface and a car and track combo that I personally really enjoy. Hockenheim Ring. How you feel about that one? You know, very well, different circuit in some ways, but they're similar in others. To Sebring this week, just minus the bumps.
Yeah, I mean, say the bumps here are, the thing that really characterizes it. I'd say Hockenheim is a track in the past where Ed has been a little bit quicker than me. Or we've been, yeah, so it should be quite a good fight if I practice. I should have the free time to, put like 2 or 3 hours in to properly grind something out because, I'm not sure if today my pace was being held up by that or by how much. I don't know. I think my setup was just a bit out of date because I don't know. I don't want to use excuses, because I mean, fair play to Ed. He put in a little bit more time, and he did have the pace today. But I'm never happy. I never like being slower than anyone on any lap. This is what characterizes me as a driver: is that I want to be the fastest car on track on every single lap, and for sure that's ended in me throwing it away a few times. And how many times in the last couple of seasons was I fastest car on track and managed to lose the race through a mistake or bad luck or whatever. So we take today, and Hockenheim, yeah, should be, if you're looking for Pinsker versus Samborski, hopefully Hockenheim can provide because he's always all there. So let's see.
Definitely, I'm sure it will do, as it always seems to in this championship. Before we let you go, James, anyone you want to give a shout out to at all?
Yeah, a shout out I do coaching in this car occasionally. I don't know, I've been quite busy recently, so I haven't been able to schedule that many sessions. But if you want to hit me up for coaching, I can teach you how to be as fast as I am. I mean, it'll be quite difficult to get to that point, I guess, but we'll see. And thanks to Ed for quite an intense battle today. Congrats to Alacia Spargaro on getting pole in MotoGP. That's why I didn't practice, because I was watching all of that good stuff. And yeah, cheers to Apex for broadcasting this thing, and hope to see you next week. Cheers.
Definitely, you will do indeed. Congratulations, that is James Pinsker, your winner here today at Sebring. Wow, Austin. I believe you've got lined up for Sarah.
Actually, oh, he ruined MotoGP for John. Oh, curse. Yeah, we do have Eddie available for a quick interview. So, Eddie, tough day today, man.
I'm just dumb. They were all my bad driving mistakes. I was just trying to catch James, trying to get the power down. For about I've told you this before. 6 months now, I've been working on getting off the brake sooner and getting into the gas sooner. Well, I accomplished that just a little bit too soon. Yeah. I mean, I'm not disrespecting anybody, but there was 20 seconds of second place. So if you're gonna go for it, you might as well go for it, right?
Absolutely. You two are on fire, and you two are the best Formula 3.5 drivers out there. And you gotta do what you gotta do and stay ahead of each other. He said that you had the pace today. Unfortunately, that mistake happened. Next week it is Hockenheim Ring. How do you feeling about that track?
It's smooth, and I like it. It's a great track. I got to readjust the setup. I've mentioned before, I'm exploring, making sure I'm on the absolute the best for me. And I like Hockenheim. I need to fix my Achilles heel, which has always been having a good lap and then having a one that's not so good right after it. I need to just back it down like a little bit and just be a little bit more precise. So I'll work on that. And hey, it was a good show. I mean, you guys must have been entertained, right?
Oh yeah, we were definitely loving it, Eddie. Before I let you go to get ready for Hockenheim Ring or take a little bit of a breather, anybody you want to thank?
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank iRacing, thank Apex Racing TV, thank you guys for doing the broadcasting. Thank all the donors. Thank anyone that votes on the schedule. Thank the team. Got to thank Ali for doing the livery. Gonna go a little lighter. My car's a little too dark. I'm not trying to be part of the shadow realm. I want to be part of the lightness realm. So I've watched the replays back a few times, and it looks great in the sun and under the lights. But we don't race under lights, so what the hell is I going for there? Anyways, I'll talk to you guys next week, hopefully.
All right. Thank you, Eddie. You have yourself a great afternoon. And thank you, everyone who's tuned in for today's iRacing Formula 3.5 Championship here at Sebring. Next week, we go to Germany at Hockenheim Ring, and that's going to be an exciting race for all of us here. I've been joined by Tim Cox, and we had John Robertson in the production booth. And I'm Austin Knight, and I hope y'all have a good night.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.